the Braves Clubhouse Report.
Glad to have you with us on another edition of the Braves Clubhouse Report. We do it every Wednesday, year-round, 2 to 2:30, here on your home of the Braves, the Fan 680 and 93.7 FM. Alongside our buddy Mark Bowman, Kevin McAlpin here with you till the bottom of the hour, talking all things Braves as they look to avoid a sweep at the hands of the Dodgers coming up tonight. Bryce Elder, Tony Gonsolin in your mound matchup. We'll talk more about that coming up a little bit later on in our show. Also, coming up in just a little while, we'll hear from Brian Snitker. We'll also hear from last night's starter Spencer Strider and Matt Olson as well. After, Bo, it was a really frustrating 2 games against the Dodgers. You know, you thought about these 2 teams coming in, the top 2 teams in the National League, and the Dodgers really have had their way with the Braves. Not the best defense, not the most timely of hitting when it comes to the Braves side of things. And then, of course, the errors have just been really uncharacteristic for this bunch here over the last few weeks.
Yeah, and especially, you get Grissom out of there and you're still having some defensive struggles. I think probably the disappointing thing is that you didn't take advantage of the Dodgers also having, a depleted rotation. They send 2 kids. These are 2 of the better prospects in the game, especially Miller. The guy we saw last night. They scored 4 runs in the first inning of this series and scored 3 runs in the 17 innings that have followed. So, there's a lot of concern. There has been concern about this rotation. You never want to go through a long stretch without Max Fried and Kyle Wright. But, as I wrote after Monday's game, that's not the only pitching concern. When you're looking and saying, you've gone with either A.J. Minter or Joe Jimenez in the 6th inning of a game. Whoa.
Yeah.
These are supposed to be 2 of your top setup guys. Now, do some guys, falter at different points of the year? Sure. Mentor did that a couple years ago. Does he get better? Sure, that can happen. But at the same time, you don't want those guys struggling at the same time as Dylan Lee's on the IL. So the bullpen's a little bit of a concern right now. But last night, yes, it was an ugly loss, or not an ugly loss. It was a disappointing loss. But at the same time, I went ahead and wrote that, hey, it was a good day because of what Michael Soroka did up there with Gwinnett. All of a sudden, we live in, day to day. What was that result yesterday? But really it goes beyond the wins and losses over a 162-game season. Yeah. And to think that Michael Soroka could be in that rotation next week with Spencer Strider, Charlie Morton, and all of a sudden, you're feeling better about the solidity, how stable that this rotation could be going forward.
No doubt. And obviously you're going to get Max Fried and Kyle Wright back at some point. It sounds like Max would probably be ahead of Kyle as far as the timeline, which we really don't have a good idea of when that would be. But when you plug those guys back in, hopefully, fingers crossed, they're fresh for the final couple of months of the season and could be good to go for a nice long run through October. So we'll see how it all plays out. But in the meantime, Bo, you need these young guys. You need Schuster, who had a good one over the weekend. You need Dylan Dodd. You need Bryce Elder, who goes tonight. This will be a good challenge for him against the Dodgers. You need these guys to just continue to hold the fort down. And I guess that's why it was so important. You cushioned yourself from the division pretty well, where you can sustain a week, 10 days, 14 days like you're going through right now, and the division really can't do a whole lot to catch up and make a ton of ground on you right now.
Yeah, and that's why I wrote that, Bryce Elder has been this team's MVP so far. Ronald Acuna Jr. is the best player in the game.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy has been incredible. Spencer Strider is a Cy Young candidate, but Bryce Elder's the MVP because without what he's done, come up, since being AAA Gwinnett's opening day starter and come up and eat the innings that he has, given what the state of this rotation, he just the innings alone that he's given would provide great value. But the fact that he ranks 5th in the National League with a 2.06 ERA, he's got a big test tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays. He's proven that he can spot that 89, 90 mile per hour fastball, and the secondary stuff has been very good. He is not giving up hits against the slider, and the changeup is pretty effective too. I think that batting average against it somewhere around 200. So the secondary stuff has improved. He's confident, much more confident, just because he's much more experienced than he was last year. So he's been a valuable piece and could be a valuable piece, throughout the remainder of the season.
This Dodgers team knows how to put the ball in play. They don't strike out a ton. Now, they punched out 11 times against Strider last night, but get in line. Everybody else has done that too this year. But for a guy who relies on a lot of plays made behind him, Bryce Elder's not a big strikeout guy. This Dodgers team is not a huge strikeout number. This is going to be a really interesting matchup. Your defense is going to be even more important tonight, knowing how many times the ball gets put in play against a guy like Bryce Elder.
Yeah, I mean, let's look across the board. Okay, you got Austin Riley. He's more than capable of a third baseman. I get it. There's some defensive metrics that, might show this and that. But you still feel good with, still very good with Arcia at short and Ozzie at second. Look, Olsen had it was a bad error last night. Bad 2 errors if you count the ball that he dropped and the runners coming through. If we're looking at outfield defense, they haven't been hurt in left field this year by anybody out there.
Right.
I mean, I think that, there's been some errors that have cost them lately, but especially with Michael Harris out there in center field, and Ronald there and right. Yeah, this is a pretty strong defensive group.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of folks were wondering, does Harris get a couple of nights off? He was out of the lineup last night. I said, I don't think you can do that. I think you need his glove back in there, and he is in there tonight batting ninth. We'll tell you the lineup coming up here in just a little while. Going back to last night, though, Bo, Spencer Strider, 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs. 2 of those 4 were earned, walked 3 and struck out 11. And let's hear from Brian Snitker as he had a chance to reflect on Strider's outing last night.
I thought he threw pretty good. I mean, he had a couple of, pitches he probably didn't execute as well as he wanted to, but overall, he threw the ball pretty good.
I mean, you get 11 punch-outs against the Dodgers over 6 innings. The walks are probably that one area where you look at 6 walks in his last 2 starts, but overall, I'm with Snit. I mean, the couple of plays not made behind him, that could look like a totally different pitching line for him.
Yeah, I focus on 2 things. The pitch to Hayward was at the top of the zone and is 97.6 miles an hour. Hayward has hit 1 homer up there, and at 97 miles per hour or more. It's not only just the way when you put it in StatCast, that basically takes care of the top 3 zones. This pitch was actually probably 3/4 of the way outside the zone. That just makes it more remarkable. Hayward hit 1 homer since 2015 up there,
Jeez.
And Strider has given up 1 homer, up there. That pitch was, I think we're all in awe saying there's no way Hayward hits that one out. Now, if Strider had any plate appearance he would want back, he was ahead of Mookie Betts 0-2, fell behind, Mookie battled back and drew the walk. So that was probably, Matt Olson's error was big, but if Strider, wanted to pick, his attempt to pick Matt up there, that's where he faltered.
Well, it was good to see Strider after he does give up that 2-run double to Will Smith after they loaded the bases with Freeman. Does retire 13 of the final 15 batters he faced. He got himself back on track, and that's something that Snit pointed out after the game last night.
He's learning something every time he goes out, a different situation and how he has to adjust and adapt. And again, he's in his limited career, he's done very well, and he'll continue to learn. And he always seems to find a way to right himself and then cover the innings if we allow him to.
And that's big. I mean, obviously where your bullpen is right now, Bo, you couldn't afford to lose Strider after the 3rd or 4th inning last night, and he goes 6. That was big for the pen.
No doubt. You needed, and that's where you actually had that feel about Spencer. You saw him, go through that 2nd inning, and you just didn't have that feel that, oh no, they're going to have to go to that bullpen because he's, less than 1 full calendar year into his experience as a big league starter. He's earned that kind of respect, and he validated it last night.
Yeah, for a guy who's made less than 30 major league starts, you feel really good about him making those in-game adjustments every time he gets the ball every 5 days. It's remarkable and unheard of for a guy that young.
How about that stat that they gave us last night about the 30? He has made it. That last night was his 30th big league start and the 10th double-digit strikeout performance. Now, I think Gooden had 16, Feller had 11, and Nomo had 11. Those are the only guys that had more double-digit strikeout performances for through their first 30 starts.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's in some rare air, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Very rare air. Matter of fact, 97 strikeouts this season, 16 more than Kevin Gossman, who has this the second most in baseball with 81. 262 strikeouts through 30 career starts, second most in Major League history, trailing only Doc Gooden, 267. Only five behind him.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
I know you might have been, you came along a little bit too late for Doc Gooden, but he was, when we were, those of us who were 10 or 11 at that time, everyone wanted Doc Gooden's jersey.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Spencer Strider is. He's kind of wanted, we didn't want Doc Gooden's jersey because everyone hated the Mets, but we wanted to wear number 16. Anyhow, that's where Spencer Strider is. He is the game's most exciting pitcher right now.
Yeah, really is. He's must-see TV every 5 days. Speaking of Strider, let's hear from him as he talked about getting that second inning and how things sort of unraveled for him there.
I don't know that I'd say it's a perfect storm. I mean, didn't execute, so when I get a guy 0-2 and then I walk him, that's unacceptable. Generally I hold myself to the standard that if I get a guy to 2 strikes, then he gets on base, then I've messed up. So just a couple of times I didn't execute, and sometimes you get away with it. More times than not you do, but they're, like I said, they're talented. They'll make you pay.
Let me ask you something. For a 24-year-old, is he a little bit too critical on himself? Does someone need to shake him and go, hey, dude, you're pretty good. You don't need to trash everything that you think you don't execute out there.
You know what? I mean, I love everything that this opportunity to meet Spencer Strider, get to appreciate all the work he puts in, the knowledge he has, the accountability he shows, the confidence that he showed last year. That's when I really just was like, when he basically told Dave and Justin and I, maybe mainly me, whoever it was, he was pointing at, where he's like, hey, look, you guys aren't doctors, you don't know, I'll take care of my body. I love that confidence in a young kid like that. And I'll give you another example. If you're saying, do you think he's too hard on himself? Last year in that playoff game, he's got the oblique, and he comes back, and first inning's great, the second inning's great, and people are starting to think, how can he go? How far can he go? Can they maybe even get 4 innings out of him? Anyhow, we all know what happened there in that third inning, and I kind of, when we were done asking questions, I said something like, can't you? I can't remember exactly. I said, can't you at least allow yourself to understand that you weren't in top physical shape, or
right.
you really hadn't thrown much. I think that's what I said. Something about you've only thrown like once, since September, whatever. You got to kind of take it easy on yourself. And he, no, and he was upset. Kind of like jumped back, like, no, I take full responsibility. It's on me, and if I'm out there on the mound, that's I said, okay. I walked away, and the next day, I just said, "Hey, Spencer, that was a horrible question. The way I phrased it, I should have done better." Anyhow, we talked, but yeah, I think that's what you're talking about. Is he's hard on himself, but you know what? That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want full accountability, and this is a guy who truly understands the art of pitching. That's the one thing I'd say that stands out about Spencer is he knows his body, his delivery, his mechanics, as well as anybody I've encountered at this age.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, Michael Soroka is an incredible savant when it comes to pitching, but Strider's right up there with him. I mean, they say things that I kind of used. It's not the same exact words that Maddox used to say, but it's at an advanced stage of Maddox's career, he would say things that these guys understand already at this stage of their career.
Yeah, it is remarkable to hear them talk. You forget how relatively young they are and how little experience is on the back of the baseball card. And talking about Soroka, hopefully we can get him back here in the not too distant future. All right, we'll squeeze in a break. On the other side, we'll talk more about Soroka and get you some more injury updates as far as the Braves are concerned. And later on, we'll get you set for tonight, Braves and Dodgers series finale. All of that as we continue on the Braves Clubhouse Report right after this on The Fan.
The Braves Clubhouse Report.
Braves go for their 30th win of the season tonight and look to avoid being swept by the Dodgers. Series finale coming up this evening. Bryce Elder, Tony Gonsolin in your mound matchup for the leadoff show tonight, 6:05 Eastern. Domino and I will walk you up to first pitch, turn you over to Ben and Joe, and they'll have the call Braves and Dodgers 7:20 Eastern from Truist Park here in Atlanta. Well, Bo, we teased this earlier in the show. We were talking about Michael Soroka. He had a really good one with AAA Gwinnett last night. If you missed the line, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, and 8 Ks, and that's back-to-back pretty solid starts for Michael. Good thing, though, is you're seeing him get deeper into ball games, and that's got to be encouraging for the folks across the street, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. For him to get 96 pitches last night in 6 innings, that's a huge step. Yeah. For him to make that progress, here's what I would say. The last couple of weeks we looked, and he's throwing 3 innings here and 3 2/3, and then 4 2/3, and somewhere between 68 and 80 pitches, and the training wheels were still on, or there was some type of restraint. I think everything was taken off. He was able to go out and just pitch freely last night. He was effective. You got to be efficient to get yourself to the 6th inning, which he was. He was able to get there, through 6 innings with 96 pitches. Here's what I'd say: if and when they need a pitcher next week, Michael Soroka could be that guy, and that's basically what I was writing last night. As that game ended here, yeah, it was a bad loss, but somewhere in the course of this day, the Braves learned that they could soon have a rotation that has, Spencer Strider, the guy that just recorded 11 strikeouts against the Dodgers, and Michael Soroka in it.
It's very exciting to know that he's getting close. Good news is that the injury was not related to his arm, shoulder, elbow. So for a guy who's 25, and he is still just 25, I think some folks feel like he's got to be 30 years old by now, because as long as it feels like he's been around, there's 2.5 years less of wear and tear on that arm. That can be huge for him when he gets back, knowing how much fresher he should be when they turn him loose.
Yeah. And we've seen him field his position. I've seen the sinker seem to have some of that same movement. He's going to pitch a little bit more up in the zone than maybe we saw him in the past. Can I just say, hey, he's definitely going to be right back where he was in 2019? Time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to be patient. But I once again, getting back to Michael's, pitching IQ and his understanding of his body, he's the kind of guy you don't bet against. He's facing significant odds, but I think he can find a way that maybe he never is a number 1 or number 2 again. But if he can be an effective number 4 for many years, then he has beaten the odds, and he does have some inspiration given what Jake Berger's done up there with the White Sox this year. So, Jake Berger's a position player and he's hitting. It's different than a pitcher, but to see another guy have success after tearing his Achilles twice, that gives you a little bit of confidence. And when Mike Soroka returns to this mound, Mike, we'll remember it's Michael here someday.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah. When he gets back out in that mound, that's going to be a significant feel-good moment in this team's history.
Yeah, there's Braves country's rooting for him. Everybody that works around him, anybody that's gotten to know him, if you've spent 5 minutes talking with this young man, you know that he's a guy you want to pull for. Everybody's rooting for him, and I can't imagine what would be going through his head knowing the obstacles he's overcome, because, Bo, I know a lot of folks were talking after that second Achilles. It was like, can this guy ever pitch again? Like, will we ever see him on a mound again? And here he is. He's overcoming every obstacle that's been thrown his way, and he's done it with a smile on his face. And I think that's part of the remarkable part as well, is that he hasn't gotten down. He hasn't felt, or at least if he hasn't shown it. He's just gone out there, put his head down, worked, and here he is on a chance or on the verge of getting another opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be we've seen him overcome a lot of physical, we knew that he had a lot of physical challenges, but think about how many mental challenges he's faced along the way, especially when you look forward to spring training for how long this past year, and all of a sudden a hamstring creeps up and you're not even able to have a normal spring training. Yeah. Time and time again, he's been punched in the face, but like you said, he's kept smiling, he's kept moving forward. So all we can do is hope that that day comes where he gets back there, and that's going to be great.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even greater if he can just stick there and continue to have extended success here at the big league level.
I know a lot of folks are hoping that the bullpen games are a thing of the past. I think you finally heard it over the weekend from Snit. I think you heard it from Jesse Chavez. The appearances are starting to rack up on some of these guys. Jesse's 22, if I'm not mistaken, 23, I believe, for A.J. Minter, some of the most in Major League Baseball. And where it becomes a concern is, okay, I need these guys August, September, October. Can't have him being burned out by the All-Star break. So it does seem, at least on the surface, like the frustration hit a point where we're probably not going to see any of those, or at least for quite some time moving forward.
I hope not. I think there's many people in that clubhouse that are done with it. Yeah. And I get it. You know, you got to do, you know, when you lose two pitchers like that, you got to do something, you know, drastic sometimes. But at the same time, you know, that Band-Aid didn't work. And so it's time to pull it off and find a new solution.
Well, hopefully Michael Soroka is that guy. Maybe in just a few days, we shall see. All right, when we return, Bo and I will close things up. We'll check in with Matt Chernoff, and we'll get you set for the Braves and Dodgers coming up tonight from Truist Park here on The Fan. Braves Clubhouse Report with you every Wednesday, 2 to 2:30. We'll check in with Matt Chernoff coming up here in just a moment. Mark Bowman joining us in studio from MLB.com as well. And, Bo, a couple of quick ones before we get out of here for the day. We've seen some good things from the lineup. Bottom third, Marcell Ozuna. I know he had an 0 for last night, but he had a 9-game hitting streak. I don't know what got into him in Miami, but I know a lot of folks wanted him maybe to be shown the door a few weeks ago. Well, there you go. He's producing, and he's doing it at a very high level right now.
Yeah, it did feel like he was getting close to potential release. But you know, if you point out to Miami, one thing that happened down there is they were working with a broken pitching machine. Nick Green found this out. He was just talking to Ozuna, and it basically, I don't know, he was just kind of sputtering. Anyhow, he started staying back just to be able to hit sights. It's like, you know, we're going to pull this. You know, we don't want to use this broken machine. Mm-hmm. And Ozuna wanted to keep using it because it was helping him to stay back on pitches. Anyhow, he's had success since then. One thing that stands out, you know, is that you know, he's had great plate discipline this year. So he's drawn his walks, and he hasn't chased stuff out of the zone. So there might be something real to this. This might, you know, early on I kept saying this might be false hope, but, you know, he keeps doing it. Maybe he's legit.
Ride the hot hand as long as it lasts. He'll DH again tonight, batting 7th. Michael Harris II is back in there tonight. I know he had a chance to catch a breather last night, Bo. And I guess the question that a lot of Braves fans want to know is what in the world's going on with Michael this year? It doesn't look like anything's different at the plate. I know he had, you know, the back and the knee brace and things like that. But now that those are solved, it's just trying to figure out what they need to do to get him going. Good thing is it hasn't affected his defense, but offensively, he just looks like a totally different guy up there this year.
Yeah, I think it's something with his hands and stuff. And let's just look at it, though. He played for a week, and he had the back issue. He sits for 3 weeks. He plays for 5 games, and he you know, tweaks the knee, wears a knee brace that he didn't like that was restrictive. You know, he didn't feel comfortable with the plate with that. You know, just takes that off on Friday. I wrote my newsletter, my free newsletter.
Which I subscribe to.
I love that. Where do you can get that?
You know, somewhere.
Oh, well, good job, Bo. Way to promote it. It's a great newsletter.
I mean, it sends it out. I mean, you know, just follow my Twitter feed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bo.
And make sure you click his stories.
Yeah, just
I always do.
Actually, you know what?
I click them 3 times a day.
Yes. Actually, you got to do 4 times a day, and then you get the newsletter.
That's fine.
There you go.
Yeah. And anyhow, the newsletter is on the site. You could probably find. Anyhow, within there, I said, look, if he doesn't get going this week, you can have the newsletter for free for the rest of the year. But anyhow, Chipper was working with him early yesterday, and I would assume that here soon, you know, within the next half hour, they'll probably be out there on the field again. And what Michael Harris was doing yesterday was trying to, you know, do that Freddie Freeman BP, hit everything, line drive to the shortstop. And, you know, let me say this. It wasn't nearly as pretty as Freddie because Michael's not used to doing that. But, look, you saw some progress. And I saw his second round of BP was better than his first. And when I asked Chipper about it, he said, you know, sometimes you get to this point, you just have to just start, you know, fresh. Mm-hmm. You know, basically just, and he said the best way to do that is to get guy back on plane, you know, get his swing back on plane is just to, you know, shoot balls the other way. And
I talked to Chipper yesterday, too, Bo, about that. And in my exclusive interview with him before you talked to him, he didn't seem to be too worried about Harris, which is the good news. But I think what happened is the stink left Marcell Ozuna for a short time, and it's entered Michael. So the stink will be there for a minute. It'll leave him. The stink has to move around a little bit. Not everybody's going to be going at the same time. So Michael took what Marcell had for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chipper did not sound overly worried.
I know.
I'm sure it's something habit, something little that all of a sudden. He also said we get to a point where you're in these guys' heads so much about your load and your hands and your feet, and the guy, like at some point it's like just see ball, hit ball.
Yeah. I mean, especially an athlete like that. A guy who, if he went out there and he can bowl a 300 game and hit probably 7 to 10 3-pointers and 9 to 10 free throw, whatever.
Very McAlpin-like.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I can't hit a free throw. That's one thing I can do.
I mean, Mike was hitting 360. Anyhow, anything he does, within the sports world, he's doing. He can handle. So
3 hits tonight. That's it.
Yeah, but look,
3 hits.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it's not going to be long. And you know what? I will say this. If he gets 3 hits tonight, I'm going to send you my newsletter for free.
And I'll tell you what I'll do. The radio show tomorrow free as well.
Oh, nice.
You guys just giving everything away.
You can find it on AM.
Is that right?
Wow.
The FM you still got to pay for.
Oh. What about the app?
The app, I mean, it's not cheap. Not cheap at all.
What's coming up on the big show today, Matt?
Oh, what does the mighty show sheet tell us here? Oh, we're going to start with some very uncomfortable audio. I love uncomfortable audio, KMac. You know that about me. We have an uncomfortable interaction with Stephen A. Smith and J.J. Redick.
Oh.
J.J. played the you didn't play card to Stephen A.
Uh-oh.
So we got that to look forward to.
We played at North Carolina A&T.
It's that's part of the joke that JJ takes a poke at Stephen. So you got that uncomfortableness. Then you got Riley trying to put the genie back in the bottle with Chipper. That's too late. So we'll hear Austin Riley. And one NFL GM was not going to give in to a NFL muckraker when it comes to stories. And it's a guy from your team. There's a story involving the Philadelphia Eagles. About some tampering charges. We'll hear the GM get into an uncomfortable back and forth.
I'm not even an Eagles guy, right?
Well, I don't know what happened to you. What does that mean?
I'm a Jets guy.
Why does that happen?
I don't know, because I wanted to be a giant loser.
Not only is he a Jets guy, but Ben Ingram from Mississippi is a Jets guy.
Yeah.
Why? Nobody picks the Jets.
He went to an exhibition game. The Jets were playing the Saints I think it was in Mississippi somewhere. He was a little kid.
But shouldn't he pick the Saints?
Well, I think all of his family was Saints fans. And I think he said, I'm going to root for the other guys.
Counterculture?
Yeah, that's what he did. And he's been just stuck in the mud just like I have for all these years.
So are you gung-ho that the Aaron thing will work?
Well, it can't be any worse.
Hurt his ankle yesterday. That's okay.
It can't be any worse. Do you know the quarterbacks that they've run through?
I understand.
It can't be any worse. If you throw left-handed, it wouldn't be any worse than what they've seen.
I'm rooting for you,
Patrick
K-Mac.
Mahomes won a Super Bowl with a bad ankle.
That's true.
There you go.
I can't argue. That's in the newsletter.
All right, well, everyone, make sure you subscribe to Mark Bowman's newsletter. Make sure you download the 680 The Fan app so you'll get Chuck and Chernoff coming up next. Bo, always enjoy having you in studio. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good.
All right, that's going to do it for the Clubhouse Report. Chuck and Chernoff will take you the rest of the way, and we'll see you at 6 o'clock, 6:05 to be exact, for the Ford Leadoff Show right here on The Fan.